I want to say something to you today. I have loved you since the day I met you. I have been trying to tell you, but was afraid to lose you, even as a friend.
I am sorry, you are my good friend, but I love someone else.
Is that a confession? Yes, and that was quite a rejection there. But is that the same confession we're gonna talk about? Obviously, no, we're not gonna talk about that confession here. A confession in legal language is quite a serious matter and not to joke about. Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel HP Tales. Today we will discuss two cases as requested by Thirvu Kanwum. I am sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. So friends, I want you to write the topics you want to discuss again. If I have not made the videos on them due to some issues, I'll try my best to cover them as well. Before moving to the case, let's first discuss some concepts so that we can easily understand the case laws. There are some confusions that we have in our mind, like is confession and dying declaration the same thing, or whether confession made to police is admissible in the court. Right? So let's see them. The word confession appears for the first time in section 24 of Indian Evidence Act. This section comes under the heading of admission. So it is clear that confessions are merely one species of admission. Now you will say, what is admission? Without making it complicated, in simple words, when any person voluntarily acknowledges the existence of any facts in issue or facts, it is said to be admission. मतलब जब कोई अपने आप जाके कुछ फैक्ट या कुछ चीज़ें एक्सेप्ट कर लेता है, उन्हें मान लेता है, एक्नॉलेज कर लेता है, तो उसे एडमिशन कहते हैं. तो अब बात आई कन्फेशन पे कि आखिर कन्फेशन क्या है. कन्फेशन कहीं भी डिफाइन नहीं है पूरे एक्ट पे, बट एक जस्टिस हैं, जस्टिस स्टीफन, उन्होंने डाइजेस्ट ऑफ लॉ ऑफ एविडेंस में कन्फेशन को डिफाइन करा है. कन्फेशन इज़ एन एडमिशन made at any time by a person charged with a crime stating or suggesting the inference that he has committed that crime. मतलब कि अगर कोई पर्सन जाके मान लेता है कि मैंने ये क्राइम करा है, मैंने इसको मारा है, मैंने उसका मर्डर करा है, तो उसे हम कन्फेशन बोलते हैं. इसका मतलब ये हुआ कि एडमिशन एक बहुत बड़ा टर्म है कंपेयर टू कन्फेशन. कन्फेशन एडमिशन के अंदर आता है. कन्फेशन को बेसिकली 4 फॉर्म्स या टाइप्स में जनरली डिवाइड किया जाता है. जुडिशियल कन्फेशन, एक्स्ट्रा जुडिशियल कन्फेशन, रिट्रैक्टेड कन्फेशन एंड कन्फेशन बाय co-accused. Judicial confession. A judicial confession is that which is made before magistrate or in a court in due course of judicial proceedings. Judicial confession बहुत ही relevant होता है और उसको evidence की तरह treat किया जाता है provided it is recorded in accordance with provision of section 164 of CRPC. Extrajudicial confession. Extrajudicial confession is made not before a magistrate or any court, but it is made either to police during investigation or into police custody or made otherwise than to police, and ये इतना relevant नहीं माना जाता है. Retracted confession. When the accused person who confessed earlier and later denied such confession is known as retracted confession. मतलब अगर accused ने पहले confess करा कि मैंने इसका मर्डर करा है, बट लेटर ऑन ही डिनाइड कि नहीं मैंने नहीं करा, ठीक है, तो उस कन्फेशन को हम कहेंगे रिट्रेटेड कन्फेशन, ठीक है। पर इसका मतलब ये नहीं होता कि अगर आपने पहले कुछ बोला है तो उसकी एविडेंट्री वैल्यू नहीं है, वो होगी अगर कुछ कंडीशंस और एविडेंस सपोर्ट करेंगे तो। कन्फेशन बाय को अक्यूज्ड, इट इज़ गिवन इन सेक्शन 30 ऑफ इंडियन एविडेंस एक्ट, ठीक है। इसमें है व्हेन मोर पर्सन्स देन वन आर बीइंग ट्राइड जॉइंटली फॉर द सेम ऑफेंस एंड अ कन्फेशन मेड बाय one of such persons affecting himself and some other of such persons is proved, the court may take into consideration such confession as against such other person as well as against the person who makes such confession। मतलब जब दो या दो से ज़्यादा लोग हैं और एक बंदा उसमें से कन्फेस कर लेता है कि मैंने इसका मर्डर करा है और ये मेरे साथ था, तो उस कन्फेशन को हम कहेंगे कन्फेशन बाय को अक्यूज्ड। ओके, देन व्हाट इज डाइंग डिक्लेरेशन? डाइंग डिक्लेरेशन बहुत ही सिंपल टर्म्स में मतलब होता है एक ऐसा स्टेटमेंट जो कि एक पर्सन अपने मरते समय बोलता है और रीज़न बताता है कि इसकी वजह से मेरी डेथ हुई है, दैट इज़ डाइंग डिक्लेरेशन। डाइंग डिक्लेरेशंस आर एक्सेप्शन टू द hearsay rule because it is based on the presumption that a person who makes a statement in the expectation of his death cannot lie. In other words, a person who reasonably believes that he is about to die would not lie. Section 32, subsection 1 of Indian Evidence Act defined dying declaration as when the statement is made by the person as cause of his death or as any of the circumstances of transaction which resulted in his loss of life. In cases in which the cause of that person's death comes into question, such statements made by the person are relevant whether the person who made them was alive or was not at the time when they were made. Under the expectation of death and whatever may be the nature of the proceeding in which the cause of his death comes into question. So अब हम इसकी बहुत ज़्यादा डिटेल में नहीं जाएंगे बिकॉज़ वीडियो बहुत लंबी हो जाएगी और हमारा मेन मोटिव है केस समझने का, उसको और कॉम्प्लेक्स करने का नहीं। तो ठीक है, हम बस इतना ही कॉन्सेप्ट अभी के लिए समझेंगे, बाकी हम केस देखते हैं। Now let's see the case laws.
Tell me, how did you murder Sivaya? Come on, tell me.
Sir, about 14 days ago, I Kataya and people of my party lay in wait for Sivaya and others at about sunset time at the corner of Palipatang. We, albeit Buddhapadi China Sivaya and Sabaya, to death. The remaining persons, Pallaya, Kataya and Narayana ran away. Gondapati Ramaya, who was in our party, received blows on his hands. He had a spear in his hands. He gave it to me then. I hid it and my stick in the rick of Vankadanarasa in the village. I will show if you come. We did all this at the instigation of Palakuri Kataya.
Your partner has told me everything. Now you tell me, how did you murder Sivaya? Tell me.
I stabbed Sivaya with a spear. I hid the spear in a yard in my village. I will show you the place.
Sir, whatever my clients have said was under police custody, that's why they are inadmissible in court as per Section 26 of Indian Evidence Act.
Sir, but they have admitted where the weapon has been kept, and that is found in the exact same place where they have described. That's why this needs to be treated as confession. Also, Section 27 of Indian Evidence Act has the exception to admit confession under police custody.
Section 26 of the Indian Evidence Act says that confession by the accused while in the custody of police is not to be proved against him. But Section 27 provides an exception to the prohibition imposed by Section 26 of the Indian Evidence Act. However, for application of Section 27 of Evidence Act, admissible portion of confessional statement has to be found as to a fact, which were the immediate cause of the discovery. Only that part of confessional statement would be taken into account, which may lead to a discovery of a fact, and that discovery should be of physical object, and not only of a mental fact. The whole of the statement except the passage, "I hid it, a spear, and my stick in the village, I will show if you come," is inadmissible. And only the discovery statement, even being admissible, is not sufficient evidence and cannot be sole ground of conviction.
You are looking so happy. What happened? Do you got any reply from Narayan Swami?
Yes, after so many attempts I finally received a letter from Swami's wife. She invited me to Barampur to take back the money due.
Wow, that's so great news. So finally we will receive our 3,000 back along with 18% interest. Please show me the letter. Are you going today itself?
Yes, dear, I don't want to miss this opportunity. Later they can go back by their word, so I don't want to take the risk.
Okay, take care of yourself. The accused, Pakula Narayana Swami, appealed to the Privy Council against the judgment of the Honorable High Court of Pana, which affirmed the conviction and death sentence of the accused by the Session Judge of Barampur. The accused sought the Privy Council to set aside the said conviction and death sentence.
Sir, Corina Karyu, deceased, came to my house on the 21st of March, 1937. He arrived in the evening of that day, and he slept over in my house, and in the evening of the next day, he left the house to board the evening train back home.
Sir, my client's husband was brutally murdered. His body was found in 7 pieces in a trunk the day after he went to Narayan Swami house to take back his money. Sir, the accused has confessed that Kurki has went to his home and it was already proved that he has bought the trunk. So the High Court has rightly convicted him.
Sir, this cannot be considered as confession, because confession can be construed from a statement by an accused suggesting the inference that he had committed the crime. And according to accused statement, he has just told the facts of the case, trying to prove his innocence and nothing else.
The accused's statement was partly a confession, and partly explanatory of his innocence. Merely admitting a gravely incriminating fact, even a conclusively incriminating fact, cannot in itself make such statement a confession. An accused's statement which contains self-exculpatory or self-explanatory matter cannot be a confession.
Sir, but the deceased before his death told his wife that he was going to Swami house and the other day he was found dead, so it will be considered as dying declaration.
Sir, for a statement to be dying declaration, the statement must be made after the transaction has taken place, that the person making it must be at any rate near death, and that the circumstances can only include the acts done when and where the death was caused. In this case, the husband do not have any idea that he was going to die.
When a deceased makes a dying declaration, it is not mandatory that the deceased should make such statement on the expectation of death. The circumstances, or of the transaction which resulted in the death of the declarant. It is not necessary that there should be a known transaction other than that the death of the declarant has ultimately been caused. For the condition for the admissibility of the evidence is that the cause of the declarant's death comes into question. In the present case, the cause of the deceased's death comes into question. The transaction is one in which the deceased was murdered on March 21st, or March 22nd, and his body was found in a trunk proved to be bought on behalf of the accused. The statement made by the deceased on March 20th or 21 that he was setting out to the place where the accused lived, and to meet a person, the wife of the accused, who lived in the accused's house, appears clearly to be a statement as to some of the circumstances of the transaction which resulted in his death. The statement was rightly admitted as dying declaration under Section 32(1) of Indian Evidence Act.
So, was it a lot to go at once? Then let's have a short recap. Confession, whether judicial, extrajudicial, or self-confession, is an admission. For a statement to be confession, statement is to be made voluntarily. Statement should be clear, consistent and convincing. Statement must be one which can be taken as a whole. Statement contains an admission by the accused that he has committed the crime or that he substantially admits to all the facts which constitute the offense. The statement does not contain any self-explanatory statements, that is, facts which explains the accused's innocence. The statement must suggest an inference that the accused committed the crime. Confession made to police is not admissible and only the mere discovery of object is admissible. Dying declaration. Dying declaration are words said before death. A statement made by a person which explains the cause of his death or any circumstances of transaction which resulted in his death. Dying declarations are exceptions to the hearsay rule. Statements which are made by deceased person who did not expect their deaths can still be admissible in evidence as dying declarations if fulfilled the conditions. I hope now you have understood what is confession and what is dying declaration and the difference between them through these two case laws. If you like this video, please share among your friends so that I am motivated enough to make more such kind of videos. Thank you.